see and experience a true weighted student formula.
My view is that a student-weighted model is one way to go. It's a perfectly fine and adequate way to go. The trick is you need to know what the amount of money to start with is, and then what the value of those weights are. If you answer the question I said about what a school should look like, you can translate into those weights, and the weights can follow the children. You can do it based on the characteristics of the school. Both should lead to pretty much the same amount of funding in either place, and I think either one works. I think the big danger in California with the discussion we've had on a student-weighted model is there are a number of people who think if we just simply take the same amount of dollars we have, attach it directly to students, the problem will go away. And it won't. It may reallocate some money. It may move some money from rich schools to poor schools. It's not always clear. It depends on how you make those weights play, but it won't solve the problem of providing every child an education if the base is too low or the weights aren't somewhere close to being right. We might know enough to get the weights right, but I don't know that we know what the base should be yet. And I don't think we've got the will or the effort to find out what that is here.
If we were a system based on equity, we would fund schools differently. We would fund them by what many call the weighted student formula. What that says is for a student that brings with them greater challenges, namely low-income students or English language learners, we're going to spend more on their education because they need more. And in so doing, the weights by weighted student formula means we're going to weight students with challenges more so they get more money. And in so doing, the money then follows the student. So if that English language learner who is poor goes to different schools or even to different districts, the money that the state allocates for that young person follows that student no matter where they go. Today, that's not how our system works. Districts are allocated money based on average daily attendance. Schools report their average daily attendance. When students are in school, they report that back up to the district. The district reports it up to the state. The state distributes money based on how many times kids came to the school. The district gets that big cent of money from the state based on average daily attendance. And then the district allocates that money to schools. So schools that have more kids in them, in effect, get more money at that school site, but the kids don't get more money. More money will go to the school that has 4,000 kids in it because that school takes more to run. It takes more teachers, it takes more guidance counselors, it takes more maintenance folks, it takes more security, it's more expensive on the lights. It's just more expensive if it has more people in it. But what our system today doesn't do is say, the school isn't more expensive to run just because it has more people in it. It's more expensive to run because it has kids with greater challenges. And those kids and their teachers need more resources to get the job done.
When you do it on the basis of pupil formula, not weighted formula, but per pupil, then what you get is part of that assignment ignores the salaries of that person. So you already have an inequity. So all of a sudden, if you pick a school X that's the teachers have been there for 20 years, and I have one in my district that the last time they hired a teacher was 12 years ago. In an elementary school. Nobody's left. You look at their salaries compared to another school that I have in my district where 40% are brand new. That one that had been there 12 years, they're spending a fourth more money just on staff. Now what that does is that money goes there. We need that money over here to help with training. So there needs to be some way to address the inequities of that. I believe you can do it if you weight the formulas based upon needs now. Needs would be based upon where they were this year and where they should have been. Now see, I'm going back on growth only because if you have a youngster who's 3 years behind and he makes a grade growth, that's great, but he's still 2 years behind and they moved up another grade, he's now 3 years again. So you see, we need additional funds, additional training for those teachers because the research I've read, even the best teacher, if you've got 25 or 30 in your classroom and you've got 10 kids that are a year behind, probably the most you're going to get is 4 to 5 of them to make up a full year. The rest are going to make up a half. If they're always a half, they continue to be a half. That half becomes cumulative. They never catch up. And I can tell you at the end of 3rd grade, a pretty good accuracy, how many kids are going to drop out based upon how they do in 3rd grade. That doesn't mean because you're the top performing student in 3rd grade, you're assured of high school because you learn new things. But I've got to tell you, you're well on your way because the foundation has been laid. You're not living on stilts. And as I said before, if you're a year behind after, or 2 years behind after 5 years, then we need to do a special individualized educational program for every one of those kids. Now that's going to cost money and time, but that's what we're about. That's the best spent money in the world if we're going to help. And you may have to do it one child at a time. I don't care.
We're looking at a weighted student formula, but you got to be very careful with equity, even for the suburban schools.